Forward! The knight commanded. The world around Iscariot fell silent, and the great beast broadened his chest, and it began to rumble. Then, with a great roar, the draken released the fire within. A blinding light flashed before him, and his body fell into the depths of a dark and deep hole within the earth. His body landed hard, and Iscariot gasped for air to fill his lungs. He looked up and saw a golden crown covered in blood lying on the dirt floor next to him. His ribs were broken, and his face was matted with earth, blood, and sweat. He crawled towards the crown and reached out his hand to grab it, and as his hand touched the crown, the ground collapsed before him. His body hit hard once more upon the ground, snapping his head on the cold surface. Disoriented, he heard his name being yelled. Iscariot! He struggled to his feet, finding it difficult to stand. He placed his hand on the wall next to him. His eyes blurred. He guided himself towards the call of his name. His name became clearer, but his eyes seemed to worsen with every step. A frigid chill ran down his spine as he came across a figure, and his eyes began to weep. No! Iscariot yelled in horror and fright. He looked down upon the figure, his eyes still clouded from tears and concussion. The figure spoke. Hans! Is all it said, and the body vanished, like smoke floating in the wind. Iscariot opened his eyes and woke within the prayer room. The room was pitch black, and once more he was blinded. He squinted his eyes, trying to see through the darkness. The room lit itself ablaze, and fire consumed it, and through the fire walked a demon, for he himself was made of fire. He looked sharply at Iscariot, his eyes burning red. It lunged at him. Before Iscariot could move, a hand grabbed hold of his throat and pinned his back against the wall. The burning beast breathed deep and hollow. Its face got closer to his, its voice void and haunting. It spoke. Iscariot, Iscariot, Iscariot. Anthony shook him lightly, trying to wake him. Iscariot, Iscariot, wake up! His eyes burned, his throat was dry, and his clothes were drenched in sweat. Are you all right? You're soaked, Anthony told him with a worried look on his face. My wife, where is she? Iscariot asked, still confused from the dream. She's still in surgery. There's been no word on her condition, Anthony answered. He continued, You need a change of clothes. Let me give you my sweater. Iscariot removed his wet shirt and put on the sweater Anthony gave him. Come on, let's go see how she's doing. As they walked through the halls back to the waiting area, a young nurse approached them. Excuse me, sir, are you Iscariot Darroch? She asked. Yes, I am. How is my wife doing? Iscariot asked without hesitation. I'm sorry, sir, I don't have an update on your wife. I do, however, have some good news. Come, follow me. The young nurse took his hand and guided him through the hospital and finally to the glass window of the nursery. She put her hand on his back and lightly pushed him forward. The youthful nurse pointed to a brown-haired boy whose name read Hans Fritz Darroch. Iscariot moved closer to the window. His face was nearly touching the glass. Can I hold him? He asked silently, sounding more like he was making a demand than asking a question. Of course. This way. She spoke joyfully, trying to perk up his spirits. She picked the infant up from the small nursery bed and gently placed him into Iscariot's arms. His face began to glow as he held his son for the first time, snug in his arms. He rocked his child back and forth, humming an old familiar lullaby. Iscariot held back tears of jubilance as his heart sang a song of bliss, and for a moment he feared nothing. Worry washed away like rain. His smile grew as Hans's little hand wrapped tightly around his index finger. There was a knock on the nursery window, and he saw it was the doctor who was caring for his wife. Iscariot's heart sank, expecting the worst. He slowly exited the nursery with Hans and asked the question he'd been afraid to have answered. How is she? How's my wife?" he asked, praying that she was all right. The doctor answered him, and Iscariot's heart shattered. He dropped to his knees with tears streaming down his face. The doctor and Anthony helped him up from the ground and sat him down on a chair outside the nursery window. "If you like, you can see her now if you wish," the doctor spoke kind-heartedly. Iscariot gathered himself together and made sure Hans was comfortable within his arms. "Can I bring my son? I'd like him to meet his mother," he asked with bloodshot, watery eyes. "That's fine," the surgeon agreed. The room was dark and eerily quiet, with only a single light shining upon his wife. The doctor left Iscariot alone and closed the door behind him. Iscariot stood there for a moment and looked down at his child and then at his wife, not wanting the moment to be real. He walked up to the bed. His voice choked and his mouth quivered as he spoke to her. "My Nectar, here he is, our baby boy." Hans began to coo. "He's so happy to see you." A tear ran down Iscariot's cheek. He says, "Hi, Mom. I love you." He closed his eyes hard and let the tears wash down his face. "I wish you could see him. He looks just like you. Just like I hoped he would." Iscariot pushed the bars of the bed down and crawled in next to her, placing Hans in the middle between them. He placed his hand over hers and gazed upon her beauty. "I can't do this without you." His throat tightened like a knotted rope, and his eyes began to water once more. "I'm really gonna miss you." Iscariot kissed her lips for the last time. "I love you, Anna."